Hey, good evening, everybody. I guess we had some technical difficulties, and me and Dave were in another room chatting away, thinking we were live, but apparently not. So we're back on. We got all our technical challenges taken out. I won't say any names, but his name starts with a Dave and it ends with an S, so I won't say the last name. But anyways, hey, good evening, everybody. Hey, there you go, Mike. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate that. And again, apologize for this technical difficulty. We were already 10 minutes into our stream before somebody called me and says, hey, you're not streaming. So we're starting over again, but in any military fashion, right, you got to adapt and overcome. And we looked at the last 5 minutes of a rehearsal. So anyways, hey, I'm Dan Lopez. I'm the chaplain for RCPT. And, kind of cutting my introduction a little bit short because we're running on time now. Just wanted you to know I'm the chaplain. If there's anything you need, reach out to me. Some folks ask me, what do I do on the team? I kind of, fill the gaps that aren't being filled when it comes to non-parachuting event type stuff. So people need help, they reach out to me. I've already assisted, several families. I've made some really good friendships just from general conversations I've had with people. And, if you need any assistance from the chaplain, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Me and Eric talked about this about a month ago on how do we get the team more connected and how do we get information flow. And one of the things I brought up is like, hey, why don't we just do a podcast, right? Once we can do it once a month, we'll pick up different topics each month and we'll just get the team together, just kind of like if we're at a bar, just hanging out, just drinking and having a good time and having a good old general conversation. So the next thing was like, what topics do you want to talk about? So I kind of brought up, I'm like, how about we do history, right? Because you want to know the history, you want to know the lineage, because at the end of the day, that's kind of what, develops and what creates the team or the organization as good as they are. So, when I was a young Ranger back in 1991, I went through Ranger Regiment assessment program. And the first thing we did was talk about the Ranger history and lineage. And we talked about everything about, Mosby's Rangers, the Darby's Rangers, what they did in World War II, Panama. And that kind of, started off the foundation of pride in an organization. And ever since those days, I never forget the lineage of the Ranger Regiment. So, we talked about it, and I figured we would start off with the organizational history. So today I have a couple of guests, right? I have Dave Hamilton and Mike Rory. They're the four founders of this organization. Mike, he is like the godfather of RCPT-USA. And we'll get to him in a minute. But I want to start off with Dave. Dave, if you don't mind, can you just kind of quickly introduce who you are and what you do on the team? Then I can have a couple other questions after that. Then from there, we'll go to Mike. So Dave, on you.
I'm Dave Hamilton. I just recently retired from the Army after 38 years. Spent most of my time in the medical field, but I did spend about 15 years as a paratrooper at various times. Some in the 11th Special Forces Group, 5th Special Forces Group, and then the 173rd Airborne Brigade. And when I was in the 173rd, I hadn't jumped. We were going back and forth to Afghanistan. I went through Jump Mastery Refresher and BAR for a couple of jumps. And then, by the time we went back and forth to Afghanistan, we didn't get very much jumps in. And there's an old German sergeant major that when we did jump, we did some partnership jumps. His name was Manfred Wimmer, and he convinced me to get back into skydiving and told me about this way that we could go jump in Normandy. And I visited Normandy, 3 or 4 times during my 11 years in Germany, and I didn't have any inkling that I could ever jump there, and or that I could jump there from a C-47 wearing M42 World War II uniforms onto the original drop zones and land in a farmer's field at dusk and have him come out and say, hey, I was here in 1944 when I was a 6-year-old kid and I saw paratroopers land here in this field just like you did today. And it really brings back a lot of memories. And of course, I mean, he was saying in very, very broken English because of course he's French, but he's like an 80-year-old French farmer coming out to help you get your parachute, cuts his hand on the barbed wire getting in the gate. And, I put a Band-Aid on his finger because I've got a big medic brassard on my arm, and I always carry a little first aid kit. So, we just had that connection of, the old paratroopers, the new paratroopers, the kid who saw, Americans land to liberate his country, and then, 70 years later, commemorations of that. So it just really kind of helped to cement the mission of RCPT. The mission of RCPT is that we perform round canopy commemorative airborne demonstrations to increase awareness and educate the public about the sacrifices and heroisms of the paratroopers of World War II and onward. It's like really is about remembering the boys of 44, and then using that as a tool to help current veterans, number one, remember their lineage and the great times they had when they were in airborne units, or give people the opportunity to see what that airborne camaraderie is like if they never had a chance to experience the airborne. A lot of folks have been in the service and, kind of always wondered what this whole mystique is about being in an airborne unit and being airborne, and, why they keep getting called a leg, and we give them the opportunity to not be a leg anymore. So it really is more than just a jump by letting people experience what we've really come to love. And then maybe as a stepping stone into skydiving or other types of airborne operations as well. But, none of that would have been an opportunity unless, folks like Mike Rohe and Jack Wingate and Uber Akin, decided a long time ago to put together a team that, took the best things out of a lot of other teams that they had all belonged to. But, as teams and organizations grow, they wind up building drama. And so, I think RCPT-USA was born out of people who wanted a drama-free organization and something that they could, better represent what the RCPT mission is. So, I'd like to let Mike talk about that because he was on the ground floor of the founding of RCPT-USA.
Yeah, so great, right? That awesome story, Dave. And I have a picture of a print, right? And Pee Wee signed it, and it's the picture of a C-47, flying at nighttime. And you have all the bullets, and you have, but like you just mentioned, as a paratrooper, right? I've done it myself for 30 years, and every time I look at that picture, it feels that pride inside of me. I'm like, man, I can't believe, I've done what less than 1% of this nation has done. And less than 1% of that is, airborne, right? So there's always a great pride in the fact that, our lineage went back to World War II, the great story and the great experience you had. But it just encompasses everything of what we are as a paratroopers and what we are as an organization. So, Mike, I didn't mean to cut your introduction off, but I have to kind of bring your own introduction because of who you are, right?
That's fine.
You've done this organization just amazing. And, in military, I'm not sure if it's a civilian term, but we call you guys plank holders, right? Meaning that you were part of the original members of an organization. So if nobody's ever called you a plank holder, I'm going to call you a plank holder from this day forward because
I believe that's a first, yeah.
Yeah, so you're an original member. So,
all right,
Mike, I'm going to go ahead and turn it to you. Tell us who you are, what you've done, the steps you took to get this organization going. Then after that, we'll talk about the history, but Dave and Mike, you guys figure out what points need to be brought into this conversation, and just go ahead and take this conversation and tell us a little bit about the RCPT history.
Well, I'm Mike Roy. I retired in 1999 after 23 years. I was an NCO. Spent my first, 17 years in combat arms. Started with the 82nd Airborne, went over to 509th. Came back, went into Special Forces, finally left SF, and went into division operations and training until I retired. I was sad to leave a parachute on active duty, but I figured I'd better find something to do besides combat arms on the outside. And I found a different jump team somewhat later, about 10 years after I'd retired. And they were doing air shows similar to ours. And I joined that jump team and was having a pretty good time. It was a lot of drama. I went over to Normandy and keep in mind that I'd already been jumping out of a C-47 and doing air shows in the USA, pretending to be these guys from World War II jumping in Normandy. Well, I jumped over in Normandy my first time, and I'm looking down. Of course, I was already hooked in the parachute. Once you get into a parachute, it's hard to get out of it. But so I exit my aircraft. I look at my canopy for good canopy control, grab my risers or my toggles, look around, making sure I have a safe place to land. And there's no safe place to land. There's trees here, cows there, a fence there, creeks there, rocks everywhere. And that warm sense of realization came over me that here I am pretending to be these guys that didn't give a crap what was on the drop zone. They just wanted to get down. And it gave me a great respect for these people that had done this before me. And they were the people that started the paratrooping thing. It was just incredible. It was an incredible experience, a real eye opener. And after that, I was hooked. Hubert Alpin had created the RCPT. It was an international team at that point. He and I think it was Roger Wolf and Jack had broken away from a different airborne team that had a lot of drama, restrictions, and things that paratroopers don't care about. We just want to jump. So they broke away, started the team, and it was originated in France, had an American 501c, and they used that as their blanket authority to do air shows and stuff like that. But after a while, because they were so successful, Hubert had asked Jack Wingate and myself if we could initiate a RCPT-USA. I guess they were already talking about RCP Sweden and other areas. And I was eager to help. Like I said, I retired in '99. I was footloose and fancy free. It was quite a job starting it up. I'm amazed at how far it's progressed. We started with 20 guys. Basically, we started with me and Jack Wingate and a few jumpers that were, ready to come over to USA. And now we have about 500 people. Originally was Jack Wingate and myself. I was the event coordinator. Jack was the guy that got the insurance and everything. All the rest of the paperwork settled in. We had problems with the insurance because we were a parachute team is difficult to insure. It's not a skydiving team. So we had to make new rules for parachute trooping teams. And it all seemed to work out. Once Jack and I got it going, we had great leadership like Dave and Teeny, other people that just took the ball and kept running. So you guys made me very proud of what you've done. All right, what's your questions?
No, that's pretty awesome, right? So first thing I want to talk to you about is what were like the biggest challenges, right? When you were part of the international team and in your mind you decided like, look, I need to create a USA. What was like the first thing you had to do to kind of separate yourself and start creating what we now call it USA?
I had to get interest. You can't have a team without people being interested in it. And if you don't have any events, if you don't have any training, if you don't have any people jumping out of airplanes, nobody's going to show up for your paratrooping events. So we had to instill interest. We had to get air shows. The most difficult part, like I said, was the insurance. Once we got the insurance, air shows were they were difficult. I mean, I had to really sell the team, but it seemed to work out. We had gotten a few air shows. Our first air show was the Titusville air show. We did it for $500, and I believe we had lodging. But Titusville air show is a very small air show, and the resources are limited. So we ended up not doing that anymore. But we got some steady air shows like the Stewart Air Show. We did California. We performed for military events. So the most difficult thing was getting the events, but also looking for a place where everybody can meet for regular team training. We thought about Georgia. Jack Wingate had picked out a place in Georgia, but it wasn't that convenient as far as airports, people coming in from different cities. So we finally settled on Palaca. It's near an international airport. Actually, it's near 3: Orlando, Tampa, and Jacksonville. They say they're international. I don't know. Maybe they fly to Mexico.
Yeah. So,
But go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So that was a big difficulty too, finding a location where all the members would come in and meet on, a semi-annual basis.
Okay. So now, you figured out that you wanted to separate. Your next thing was the vision of like, where are we going to start doing this? And Dave, you could probably help answer this question as well. So now that you got your vision, right? How did you start getting equipment, right? How did you I need an airplane, I need a parachute, and more importantly, I need parachutes that are certified and ready to put people, literally having canopy, a little millimeter sheet of canopy lowering someone down to the earth. So how did you guys organize all that part, the equipment part and the logistical pieces of it?
Let me answer the first part. At first, you brought your own equipment. We didn't have anybody's equipment. We didn't have any money. So the paratroopers brought their own equipment at first. So, and then now, Dave, it's your turn. How we got all this great equipment. I mean, we've sailed, let me tell you.
Well, I think the first thing that you got to have is an aircraft. And that is really the whole reason why we decided to go to Palatka, because we had this great airport out in the middle of Georgia, but we were trying to do, we had a Cessna from, Palatka's Cessna that would fly out there, and we would do jump master refreshers and things like that. However, we needed a larger aircraft for events, and we were trying to do a jumping of the herd around the 8th of November. I think it was in 2017 or something like that. And we were trying as hard as we could to get an aircraft that had a reasonable ferry fee to fly into that airport in Georgia. And we just couldn't do it. So we kept looking around, and, we had all, gone to Palatka. Art had jumped with us in Normandy. He had offered his location. A lot of us had done our training at X-35, but we weren't allowed to do a jump master refresher there. So, Art said, hey, look, I'll make the facilities available to you. I've got a hangar that you can pack parachutes in. We've got a Kodiak, which is just like a caravan aircraft, as well as 2 Cessnas. So really, Palatka had been, there just kind of waiting for us to ask them to become the base. And we asked Art, and he agreed. And we had our first event there.
If you remember, Dave, even that was a difficulty, even getting that drop zone, because the FAA was going to revoke his certification for skydiving.
Yeah, that came a couple years later, but we had a couple of really good events there at Palatka. Art built us some great packing tables. We were able to use his facilities, and they just kept, first we had about 15 people show up. Then the next year we had some folks from Europe that came over and ran through our jump master standardization. Sandro Plus from the RCPT Swiss, and several other folks from Europe that came over and learned how we did our jump master stuff, because we were starting to introduce pie balls. We're starting to introduce, instead of using a ground marker release system, we were using, verbally initiated release system. So we'd started doing some things that we had learned in the military that we found were pretty effective for air shows. And, we were able to do all of that there at Palatka with the aircraft right there. We didn't have to pay for a ferry fee. And then in order to bring in a C-47, the Tycho Bell was available and, willing to work with us. So, over that last, 4 or 5 years, we've just steadily increased the number of people that wanted to join RCPT. With that membership dues and with some donations from former members, we were able to start procuring some equipment, some parachutes. A lot of times, in the earlier days for those early events, we would bring our own parachutes to the, people would have 1 or 2 parachutes that would bring and loan to someone else that didn't have one. We'd buy radios. It was probably only about 2019 when we started having enough team funds to start to buy some team equipment. And then just recently, we had this awesome opportunity to purchase about 300 parachutes, and we're in the process of getting those things tested. But the parachutes have this pretty hard maintenance tail to them, right? So all the reserves have to be repacked every 6 months, and then each one of the mains has to be inspected and put into service, and then packed by a certified rigger or by the person who's going to jump it next. And so those that takes a lot of time to get ready for these events, to have enough parachutes in order to keep things moving. To the point where we've actually, the last several events, we've gotten riggers to come in and pack the large numbers of parachutes that we need in order to keep the event running during the event. So it's been what's really happened is that you've got really a coalition of the willing, of folks that are local to Palatka. So when we first started, Teeny lived in Massachusetts. Teeny Van Scoor, the president, lived in Massachusetts, and I lived all over the world with the Army. And so the only time we really got to Palatka were during the events. But we've just, over the last 5 years, gotten folks that are local. We got Bill Markham and Frank Cashman and CJ Hurst, and of course Art, Juan Arango and his wife, Nikki at Manifest at Skydive Palatka, folks that are local there that just do a tremendous amount of work to get ready for these events, get the equipment ready, and provide just this top quality professional training that we're able to do not only twice a year during our events, but now Frank Cashman and Bill Markham are able to train folks throughout the month, on weekends, in between our events. So that's one of the things that's gotten some of our sponsors connected to us, is that they've heard about us. They've wanted to jump. We were able to run them through a training at a time that fit their schedule. And then that just really cemented the relationship. They saw how professional of an organization we are, and they've experienced that airborne camaraderie that really keeps people connected to this sport of parachuting.
That's awesome. Hey, Mike, so going back to you, right, and you kind of go into the historical aspect of it, right? Years ago, you wanted to make our own RCPT-USA. You took in all the steps, and now today, is RCPT, is that what you expected it to be as it is today, or do you still want more of RCPT to still develop?
I go to events. One of the main reason I think this team was started was we allow people to jump regardless of what team you're on. If you're qualified to jump, you can jump. There's so very little drama. I barely see drama when I go to any of our events. So, and the amount that it's growing, and the quality of people that we have on the team, there's no bickering. If there is, they keep it very quiet. I mean, we're professionals. We got everybody on the team from, I don't know, maybe we could be homeless. Dave DeSucci looks homeless. To probably a couple of millionaires we don't even know about. So it's incredible the way the team's growing. And to answer your question, I'm just amazed. The quality of people, the amount of equipment, and the amount of people that are on the team. Yeah, it's exceeded my expectations, actually.
I will tell you, from the first time I went to an event, and the second I walked in, the second I saw the airplane, it was just amazing and a very humbling experience to kind of see that historical figure in front of us, right? That airplane that took people to Normandy and literally changed the face of the earth literally overnight, right? So it was very super exciting. But more importantly, you created this, right? As I walk around and talk to people, right? I hear their stories. But the common thing that everybody has when I speak to them is that peace that they have, no matter what was going on in their personal lives, right? The fact that they're there, getting ready to put on a parachute and just jump for the 40 seconds adrenaline rush they have.
You're right.
People across country coming over to these events, and that's because of your vision, right? And it's awesome. And I really want to thank you because it helps me too, because there are times where when I go to these events, I'm just out away from reality for a little bit, right? It's me.
Yeah.
My last one, I brought my father-in-law, my wife and kids, and we bring our dogs, and we're away from reality. And I want to thank you for that, creating that environment. And again, like I say, I see it and I feel it when I talk to other people. So no, it's just amazing where your vision went to where it is today and what it's doing for people, right? It's just getting them away from reality. Giving them a sense of purpose, right? Because
Absolutely. I give them the brotherhood they had when they're in the military. And, it's a PTSD relief. We don't sit there saying there we were surrounded, but we sit there, we rag each other, we have a good time, we relax, we be ourselves, and then we go home and go back to the rat race.
Yeah, because predictability in somebody's life is like key and essential, right? If I know that I'm going to have an event in 3 weeks, that's my motivator for the next 3 weeks, right? I'm like, okay, the light at the end of the tunnel is there. And when I get to the RCPT event, I am, dropping everything I have and just, mentally, physically, just dropping everything and working at this. But hey, so when you move from international to USA, I noticed that our airborne wings, right? It has the RCPT across with the international emblem. Is that the emblem that you created, or was this something you adopted from another organization?
That was the original RCPT creation, and I don't know. I think Hubert and Roger and Jack created it.
Okay.
It's not similar to any other team.
Too.
Yeah.
I think so too. They asked us to get them redone or get them, find the place that made them. And so we were able to find a place here in the States that makes the wings. And then we had Jumpmaster wings made. And then we, the emblem that you see there above Mike's head, we put the little red, white, and blue shield underneath of it to signify USA. And there was some consternation. Yeah, it's in the screen, Mike.
Looking for somebody with a knife.
Because RCPT International, we're Americans. We do stuff the way that we think that needs to get done to move the organization forward. So we wrote an ASOP. We worked with the FAA to get a letter of authorization to jump. We decided to get different. We're working on sponsorship, and so we had conversations back and forth with RCPT International, and they thought we were kind of moving a little fast, but we only know one way to go, and that's forward. So what we've done is we've built our ASOP and we share it with all the other teams, the RCPT chapters, really all the other jump teams, because we base ours off the Army regs and modify them to make them kind of less of an ass pain. The Army, the military winds up taking all the fun out of everything, right? When you parachute, you wind up doing it with a 100-pound ruck, or when you scuba dive, you wind up doing it with, a non-rebreather and all this stuff. So, but we try to take all the pain points out of the military ASOPs and regulations, but maintain the safety and professionalism. And so, and that gives us a common language between all of our jumpers. If our jumpers have been in the military, they know what to expect when they show up at one of our events. And if we do things, in a fairly regimented way, they know what to expect, because that's the way it was in their airborne unit. And I think sometimes that's actually therapeutic for folks to kind of be back in that environment for, a period of time where everybody's moving in the same direction, everybody knows what to expect, and they're all exiting the aircraft at the same time. It gives them quite a bit of camaraderie that they wind up missing when they get out. I mean, I'm recently retired, and you wind up missing those things when you retire, and that camaraderie is really one of the things that I think keeps people coming back to our organization and our events. Over.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm involved with different sports. I play ice hockey and stuff, but I will tell you the greatest camaraderie is in an airborne operation, right? It doesn't matter what your opinion is. It doesn't matter if you like the person, but at the end of the day, when you have a jump master who's doing your JMPI on you, you're literally risking your life. You're putting your life in the trust into his hands, right, to make sure he's doing the right thing. And when you get on the airplane, if you notice, you never think about nothing but hooking up, walking to the door, and jumping out, right? So between putting your parachute on and landing on the ground, right, it's just amazing, the teamwork, the camaraderie, and just where your mind gets put in a different place. Like you were mentioning before, it puts you back to who you used to be, because that little part was taken out of you when you came out of uniform. And it's kind of nice to be able to slice that back into your life, saying, hey, I do have a purpose and I do enjoy this. Kind of making a point that you said, I have a son who's in the 82nd, or who was in the 82nd, and I tell him, dude, this place is perfect because you don't have to rig up and wait in the rigger shed for 8 hours just for a 20-minute ride and jump. You just literally walk up, put on your chute, walk on the airplane, and jump out. So it's a perfect environment. So everything that I hated about airborne, you guys eliminated. So it's perfect.
Yeah, that's right. You don't have to have that heavy equipment. You don't have somebody yelling at you to don't time off the DZ. Yeah, you're good.
My disability rating is because of that one rucksack that I had to carry and jump with. So
that's right.
So you got the vision, got the idea. Now we're in full swing and moving forward, right? And so what does somebody have to do that's a jumper? And I'm going to kind of shift gears a little bit to become like a jump master. What else can they do, or what do they have to do to become a jump master, to take their profession to a next level?
Your training, Dave?
Yeah, so I think that, first of all, they kind of have to have enough jumps to have some air awareness about them, right? They have to, experience the airborne operations from several different perspectives. And so, for Army Airborne School, you got to have 12 jumps to be able to go to Jump Master School, right? Yeah. What we've decided to do with RCPT is we take people that have been jump masters, and we have them come to our jump master standardization on Monday, the week before our operation. So on the 20th, all the jump masters that are going to do duties will show up there and go through, JMPI refresher, actions in the aircraft refresher, any new policies or equipment changes or anything like that, and just get on the same sheet of music so that all the jump masters are kind of re-blued for every operation. And then we've also, opened the opportunity for folks who have, 20 or so jumps and that we have seen demonstrate good air awareness and good professionalism in the air, have gone through a jump master course that RCPT has run. CJ Hurst and Bill Markham and the folks there that are local have been able to put this on. People study nomenclature, jump master handbook. They, learn actions in the aircraft. They have to do a perfect JMPI within a time standard. So it is, as rigorous as we can make it to the Army Jump Master course that all of us went through. And so it really gives them the same kind of experience and credentials that the military jump masters would have, except for, some of the spotting and DZSO things that they also learn that during their RCPT jump master course. But, Army Airborne School takes 3 weeks, right? Really to indoctrinate folks into the airborne and as a strength and conditioning, test to, make sure people have the perseverance to be able to, complete the course and have the correct physical standards, and will follow instructions that are required to pass airborne school. The Army Jump Master course is 2 weeks long. I think that, the RCPT Jump Master course takes, it's over a period of a couple of months with, being done on the weekends and when people have time, and the studying and the, going through certain gates. It gives people a great opportunity to learn what it's like to, look out the door of the aircraft and make sure that they are absolutely over the correct spot, and make sure that people are safe and ready to exit the aircraft, and then exit that aircraft safely, through an airborne operation. It could be a demonstration jump at an air show. It could be, our standard jump operations at Palatka. We put the same amount of rigor and professionalism in every one of those to make sure that everybody has a chance to exit that aircraft safely. That's kind of what it takes to be a jump master. Some initial experience, and then a lot of willingness, drive, attention to detail, humility, because people are going to tell you you're doing something wrong and you better be able to correct it, right? So that's something that, even though some of us have been jump masters for more than 20 years, we all have to, learn the new things and take the, some of the new jump masters may be more, up to date on things than our old memories are. So we have to have the humility to be able to listen to them. And I think that's kind of throughout our team. We kind of make sure that even though the people may be super experienced, you can learn something from the youngest and from the newest team members. And I've noticed a lot of humility on our team, and that just really adds to that camaraderie that we have during our events.
Yeah. That feedback, constructive criticism, whatever you want to call it, just makes you better, right? So I'm looking at our clock, right? We're already at 40 minutes, 42 minutes, or 37 minutes, right? But time's going by quick, right? We have some great conversation. So I want to kind of shift focus just a little bit, right? I will tell you, I want to talk about the staff, I guess you would say, or the board members, right? All the hard work they're doing. I just want everybody to know that the board members are constantly working every single day for you, right? For the jumpers, the jump masters, just so we can enjoy that 45 seconds of high adrenaline. The board members are constantly working and doing so much. There's a chat that the board members use, and I don't know how to keep up with it because they are chatting with each other in the middle of the night, all the way through the morning time. And when I get up, it says, you have 1,000 messages you missed. And I, as a chaplain, I'm not going to go scroll back, right? Because it's just the amount of work and attention to detail that you are dedicating your time for the team, right? Just so that couple of hours I'm at the drop zone, to watch, to kind of get away from everything. And it's tons of work that is done for that few moments. And I do appreciate, and I'm sure everybody on the team appreciates all the hard work. So Dave and Mike, I'm going to finish it off with this question. So Dave, what is being the current operations officer? What is your daily life like when it comes to making sure that the next event's going to be smooth and how it's all going to just flow well? And what keeps you up at night? Then Mike, I'm going to kind of shift it over to you. And as being the blank holder, it's kind of like, what's your take on that? And what do you do for the team nowadays? So you have time to think about it, but Dave, go ahead and tell me your experiences as an operations officer.
Well, a little humility moment. Today I was, it's been the first really nice day in a few days. The sun was out, so I had a chance to go out and start working in the yard, putting in some ditches. And I actually forgot that we had a 1800 conference call today for the final planning session for the Operation Sand Snake that's going to start up next week. I'm the one that planned it. I put the slides together last night. I put in the calendar invite, and my phone died, and I didn't have a watch, a electronic watch on to remind me, and I totally blew it off. So sometimes you forget, but current operations is really just kind of making sure that everyone has what they need to accomplish the event. So when it comes to planning the Operation Sand Snake, there's a lot of folks that have done several of these events already, and they have a really good plan. But my job is to try to help synchronize that so that people are looking to the left and right and know that someone else needs help. So trying to help navigate and direct people to where the help is. So I think that trying to put together a calendar, trying to, stay up to date on the board of directors chat, make sure that we are anticipating things that may cause problems down the road in the events, making sure that we plan and are finding new events. So we've got John Wallace. So Mike Rohe was the event coordinator for years and years and years. I mean, that was one of the things that he started out RCPT-USA with, was finding air shows for us to participate in and finding events and places for us to go jump. So that's about a year-long process, a year to 6 months. Once we find out about an air show that will have us, and that we sign a contract, and then we start the detailed planning with the FAA, making sure that the air boss and the air show knows what we need to be successful, and then making sure that all the members know what they need to bring and everything they need to know to come to the event and succeed. So really, that's what current operations is just trying to pull all of the little details together to make it, the events operate more smoothly. I've only been in this position for a couple of months, but as vice president, I wound up doing a lot of these types of things to help to synchronize operations and events. And
Awesome.
That's one of the things that we'll do when we during the Operation Sand Snake here next week, is we'll just kind of keep our head on a swivel and keep looking to see who else needs help, and try to push those resources to the person that needs help, so that it's more of an even balance of labor. So not, we've got some crazy driven people, like Bill Markham and Jim Connell and, Dave Munoz, and people have driven themselves so hard that sometimes they have to, step back for a little bit and say, hey, I have to take care of myself, or, I'm taking too much of this on myself. That's what I had to do when I was vice president. I had just taken command, and I realized I couldn't do justice to both jobs. So I backed out. Rob Kostelik took over as the vice president at that time, and Bill Markham was president. And I think having new blood in some of those leadership positions just allows the organization to take off. I think that's one of the reasons why the organization has done so well, is because I stepped back and let somebody else do it, because they can do a better job.
It's like when the unit gets a brand new lieutenant, right? They show up, they want to work, and about a year later, they are tore up and worn out, and they're ready to leave. So, Mike, I'm going to finish it with you. We got a couple more minutes, and I'm going to have one more question. But, Mike, kind of turn it over to you. What do you do on a daily basis for RCPT-USA? And
Wow.
By no means am I trying to say if you don't do much, but I totally respect for all the hard work you already put in. Really, at the end of the day, you should be at a beach chair with a little beer watching us jump, knowing that you paid the difference for us.
It kind of reminds me of something Jack had said to me once. The good thing about being a master paratrooper, jump master, is you let the senior jump masters do all the work.
Yep.
So that's pretty much where I'm at as well. I've started it. I got the bicycle rolling down the hill, and these great leaders have taken charge, and we got so many great people on the team in logistics and our riggers and everything, even our canteen. I'm just sitting there every time I come in smiling at the achievement this team has accomplished.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's the fruits of your labor, right? And you're watching it grow right in front of you.
Right.
It's growing to exactly the way you visioned it. So that's awesome.
It is. Yeah. It's big. I go down there, people are all jumping. They're having a good time. Even when it's raining and we're waiting for weather, we're still have good. I've never seen bad spirits down there.
No.
Maybe bad alcohol, but not bad spirits.
But Mike, I'm telling you, just from me personally, I want to thank you so much for everything you've done and what your vision was years ago to what it is today. And to this very second that we're doing a podcast, to get the team involved and making it more than just a jump, right? So Dave.
It is, yeah.
Yep. I'm sorry.
No, it is more than a jump. It's a team. Go ahead.
Yep,
I'm done.
Exactly. No, it's my fault. It's that delay in the. So in less than a minute, right? I'm a jumper, right? What would you tell me to get me more involved with the team, or what does the team need? Does it need more marketing? What would you like to tell me to make sure the word of RCPT gets out? What can I do to help you?
The biggest thing that folks can do is to, just share their experience that they have. If they've come to one of our operations, Black Cat or Sand Snake, and they've experienced that camaraderie, just tell their friends that what a great time they had and share like crazy on their Facebook or, social messaging, whatever they do, however they let people know, and try to bring 2 or 3 people back with them when they come to our next event. And then just remember, it's not just the jump, right? The whole idea of RCPT is to, really reinforce that camaraderie. And then between operations, reach out to the people that were in your basic airborne course. Reach out to the folks that you met at these events or folks that you see on the RCPT social group, and just say, hey, how are you doing? You can kind of tell when somebody's, having some tough times, and you might be able to help. You might be that one person that can help them through it, but you'll never know unless you ask them, right? And so that's one of the things is don't be afraid to ask someone and tell them how you can help them. And say, hey, look, I've noticed that, you haven't been on as much. Is there anything that I can do to help you out? I mean, you might find out that you are the one person that person that can help them. And so you won't know until you ask.
Yeah. So Mike,
and it's really kind of all about that whole, a lot of people have been talking about the 22 of folks that wind up committing suicide every day. This is one way to kind of get after some of those things. It's not just the people that, that hurt themselves or get in trouble or commit suicide. It's, people wind up having trouble through a lot of things, and there's a lot of ways that we can help them out.
Okay, awesome. No, that's great points. While I ask Mike this or make this last comment to Mike or story, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Right, I get a lot of I'm seeing a lot of comments, and we're here for you all. But so Mike, I want to throw one thing out there is that the last jump we were at, I walked in and I'm walking around, and me and some other guy, his name was Sergeant Wilson. We kind of looked at each other and we kind of like, you look familiar, I look familiar, and we just didn't know what it was. Then he came up to me. He's like, "Were you in 3rd Ranger Battalion back in 1993 or 94 timeframe?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "So was I. I'm Sergeant." He had a beard and all that, and all of a sudden we're like, "Wow, it's been 30 years,
Right.
Since I seen him last when we were both young buck sergeants in 3rd Ranger Battalion." And we saw each other of all the places. He lives in California. Of all the places we reconnect in Palatka in a small town in Florida. So that was awesome. So thank you. So I don't see any questions. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up because believe it or not, the hour's already up. It's already gone by that quick, right? So a couple of things. To the jumpers, it is awesome that I'm able to walk around and chat with you all and just connect, right? Because really at the end of the day, I hope I'm helping you out, but more importantly, you're helping me out whenever I'm able to just chit chat with people and just kind of, see how life's going because it really kind of re-energizes me as well. To the board members, I don't know how to tell you thank you, right? Because I know, and maybe most people don't realize it, but the sacrifices you guys are making so that way we can have that 1 week of enjoyment, right? You're literally putting your families, you're putting everybody around you on hold to make sure that these events go smooth, and they do go smooth, right? And a lot of times when events go smooth, people come, jump, and get in their truck and go home. And I hope everybody's thanking you because I know the sacrifices you guys are putting in to each and every event. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart and just kind of the environment you've created for all of us, right? Just to get away from reality. And it's just, it's invaluable, right? I can't express it more than what I'm doing now. But, So to end it off too, this podcast isn't my podcast, right? It's everybody's podcast. So if we have people out there that want to come on and be part of this, let me know. If you have an experience that you want to talk about, we can talk about it. If you have an expertise, share what you got. Because, if you're a doctor and you want to share some medical advice and some things that can help us all, great, come on board. But again, it's for you. It's not for me. I'm just running it. I got Dave who helped me set it up, and I'm just kind of like the voice of it. But let's just get on and let's get some other conversations and other talks coming up. So you have my info. Send me the email, and we'll get you on the podcast. I don't see any questions. Dave and Mike, it's been an honor to be able to have you for an hour and just talk to you about stories. Appreciate everything you do. And again, RCP is just more than a jump. So that's all I'm going to finish off with. So anybody else, y'all have a good night and appreciate your time.
Airborne.
The mission of the Round Canopy Parachuting Team USA Foundation is to perform round canopy commemorative airborne demonstrations to increase awareness and educate the public about the sacrifices and heroism of Allied paratroopers from World War II onward. To achieve our mission, the Round Canopy Parachuting Team USA Foundation trains and maintains the skills of hundreds of active duty, retired military service members, first responders, and civilians to safely perform round canopy parachuting demonstrations. We do this by fostering camaraderie among individuals who share a passion for round canopy parachuting. This is accomplished through partnerships with worldwide RCPT chapters. Go! We provide standardized, safe parachuting activities and a sense of community for our team members.